Incredible snowstorm revelation. Young billionaire's touching response to struggling mom and baby. Ethan always thought his life was a fairy tale, the perfect billionaire, living in a penthouse designed for elite tastes. But as the first heavy flakes of snow began to tumble from the sky, the reality of a raging storm sent him spiraling back to the small suburban town of his youth. He maneuvered his sleek car through the swirling whiteout, heart pounding as the memories of childhood Christmases filled his mind. Just as he reached a heartfelt nostalgia, an old, run-down car caught his eye, parked awkwardly by the side of the road. A silent scream in the blizzard's fury, curiosity won over caution. He pulled over, shivering in the cold. Sitting inside was Sarah, bundled against the chill, cradling a timid infant wrapped in a threadbare blanket. Hope shimmered in her eyes, but despair loomed close behind. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracked with the weight of untold stories. "We just need to stay warm just for a little while." As she began to share her tale, Ethan felt the stark contrast between their worlds. He learned of her late husband, a decorated veteran taken by illness far too soon. In that moment, Ethan's luxurious life felt fragile under the crushing reality of Sarah's struggles. Each heartbeat echoed the reminder this wasn't a fairy tale. It was cold, harsh reality. He cleared his throat, the tightness in his chest becoming unbearable. "Come with me," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. "Get out of the storm." He soon found himself awkwardly hosting Sarah in his home, surrounded by high society friends sipping champagne. Laughter echoed off the walls, yet it felt jarring against Sarah's brittle silence. She sat there, out of her element, every curious glance like an arrow aimed at her dignity. The glitz of his world revealed itself to be both a comfort and a cage. Charity was discussed as if it were merely a pastime, a fashionable accessory on the wealthy's Christmas checklist. Ethan felt a gnawing guilt, the air thick with judgments and veiled comments. A feeling of inadequacy clawed at him. He could feel the rift between them deepening. Finally, a confrontation broke through the party's superficiality. The icy truth of meritocracy collided with reality. While Ethan's grit had built an empire, Sarah reminded him that not all battles were fought on an equal playing field. He felt a pit in his stomach as she spoke of survival, of hope against crushing odds. The storm's howling intensified outside, mirroring the turmoil echoing within him. The struggle between privilege and poverty boiled over, the room heavy with unresolved tension. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Ethan glanced around the room, discomfort layered with realization wrapped around him. It was more than a party. It was a reflection of a world he barely recognized. The laughter now felt like nails on a chalkboard. He looked back at Sarah, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears of anguish and resilience, and he felt a flicker of purpose ignite inside him, an urge to bridge the gap, to create change. But how? The snow continued to fall outside, a soft blanket shrouding the chaos, leaving him with one haunting question. In that moment of disarray, could he find the courage to transform not only his heart, but the community he had left behind? Ethan stood in the middle of chaos, his heart racing. Sarah's words resonated in his mind, each syllable a reminder of the divide that had grown, not just between them, but between two worlds. The laughter around him felt hollow as he stole glances at her. She was a delicate figure among a sea of opulence, a stark contrast that exposed the cracks in his perfect life. Maybe I can find a way to help, he whispered to himself, the thought barely audible over the chatter around him. He couldn't shake the urge to make things right, to join her side in a struggle that should never have existed in a society like his. He turned back to the party. A sudden burst of laughter caught his attention. A friend of his, dressed in an expertly tailored suit, collapsed onto the couch, spilling his drink. "Come on, Ethan. This moment is too good to waste." The comments flowed like champagne, light-hearted and careless. Yet all Ethan could think about was the woman in the corner and the heavy weight she carried, both physically and emotionally. He couldn't ignore the contrast that kept pulling at him, like a thread unraveling from his once tightly woven fabric of life, without another thought. He excused himself, shoving through the crowd. The elegance of his surroundings felt suffocating. Once outside, the blizzard hit him like a gust of realization, the cold air pinching his cheeks as he approached Sarah, who now sat quietly, her baby sleeping soundly in her arms. "Sarah," he said, voice cracking slightly, "I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize how out of touch everything was." She looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes. "Ethan, it's okay. This world, it's not mine. I didn't expect to fit in." Her voice trembled, the confidence from earlier replaced by a soft vulnerability. Ethan inhaled deeply, determination rising within him. "No, it's not okay. Your story needs to be heard." He fumbled with his thoughts, the honesty spilling out. "I want to help to change how things work." Her gaze softened, eyebrows knitting together. "You have your life, your world. How can you possibly change anything for someone like me?" His heart pounded as he took a step closer. "Because I want to try. I can't just go back to my life and pretend I didn't see all this." He gestured wildly, feeling the urgency course through his veins. "I'll start something. A fund or programs, anything to help connect people from both worlds. We need to create opportunities." The sparkle in her eyes dimmed a little, uncertainty clouding the warmth. "And what makes you think anyone will listen?" Gripping the edge of her seat, he declared, "No one is going to listen unless I start making noise. And I'm ready to be that voice. You're not alone in this." In that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. It was fragile but bright, like the first glimpse of dawn breaking through the night. What if I could help too?" she asked, a new resolve creeping into her voice. Ethan's heart soared at her question. A partnership forming in the midst of a blizzard. "We can do this together," he smiled, warmth spreading, igniting a connection that felt rare and electric. But as their hands brushed together, a realization washed over Ethan. Could he really change the world outside his window? Could he bring wealth and struggle together? The storm raged on, but within him, a fire began to spark, and in the back of his mind, a question loomed. Would his resolve be strong enough to face the challenges ahead? Ethan watched as snowflakes danced in the wind, swirling like thoughts in his mind. Sarah's eyes seemed to glimmer in the dim light outside, hope intertwining with resolve. He felt a shift within himself, the determination growing more intense now that she voiced her desire to help. Together, he repeated, almost tasting the word. It lingered between them, hanging in the cold night air like something precious. "But first, let us figure out where to start. I know it's overwhelming, but we can break it down. Just one step at a time." Sarah's smile was tentative but beautiful, warming Ethan's heart. "Maybe we could reach out to local businesses or charities." She shifted the baby in her arms, her gaze steady. "It might be easier to begin with smaller events." "Exactly," Ethan exclaimed, enthusiasm bubbling inside him. "We could plan community gatherings, fundraisers, anything that shows people we're serious about making a change." As they spoke, the noise from the party wafted through the door they left ajar. But it felt like another world, one that faded into the background as their plans took shape. Ethan could see it so clearly now. A vision of bringing people together, breaking down the walls he used to ignore. "I know a few people who might be interested," he continued, his eyes bright with possibility. "I'll talk to my dad too. He's involved with some philanthropic organizations. They could provide resources." A flicker of doubt crossed Sarah's face as she shook her head slightly. "But will they genuinely want to support us? I mean, for people like me?" Ethan reached out, placing his hand over hers, the warmth of his touch igniting a spark in her eyes. "Trust me, Sarah. If I present this right, they'll see that it matters. We'll show them it's not just charity. It's about building bridges." As they planned, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world around them. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt that familiar sense of connection, the warmth that came from working toward a common goal. Minutes passed, filled with quiet determination, until a loud crash jolted them from their moment. Ethan's heart raced as he turned to see a group of partygoers staggering out, laughing loudly, none of them aware of the conversations that mattered outside in the congealed cold. "Do you see that?" Sarah gestured toward the clamor, now drawing closer. "That's their reality, you know. Their world is so different from ours. It's easy for them to have fun and forget about us." Ethan opened his mouth to respond but paused. He followed her gaze, feeling the sharp divide grow more pronounced. "And that's why we need to be loud about our mission. For people like you, like your baby." The urgency clawed its way back into his voice, awakening a sense of duty that had lain dormant for too long. Before he could continue, someone stumbled over their path, one of his well-to-do friends, eyes glazed from too much laughter. "Hey, Ethan. Simon, man. Join the fun." The invitation hung in the air, enticing and isolating all at once. Ethan felt the pull, the easy distraction that had always drawn him in. But then he looked back at Sarah, her baby now awakening slightly, eyes blinking against the cold. The disparity struck hard, a reminder of the disparity in their lives. "I can't," he finally said, his voice steadier than he felt. "Not tonight. I have something much more important to focus on." "Are you sure?" she asked, not wanting to impose. But Ethan nodded, unwavering. "We have a mission now, and I'm all in." As he took a step back toward the chaos, he felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration surge through him. What if they succeeded? What if they couldn't break through the barriers? With each uncertain step into his old world, the question loomed larger than the snowflakes falling around them. Was he ready to face the resistance that awaited? Ethan felt the weight of his decision settling in his chest as he walked away from Sarah and the quiet they had carved out together. The thumping music from the party felt like it was pulling him in, yet he maintained his path. There was something fleetingly beautiful about the way the snow coated everything. Underneath the surface, he knew it was time for change. He joined his friends, laughter bubbling around him. But he felt distant, a spectator. They were so immersed in their carefree revelry, oblivious to the struggles beyond their world. He tapped one of them on the shoulder, a friend from high school, Jason, whose face lit up with delight at seeing him. "Ethan, man, where have you been? You've got to try this punch. It's insane." Jason handed him a drink, but the vibrant colors and sweet smell felt hollow. "Maybe later," Ethan said, the words escaping his lips almost automatically. He scanned the room, his mind flickering back to Sarah and her baby. "Hey, what's up?" Jason asked, his grin faltering a little as he noticed Ethan's distraction. "Just thinking," Ethan started, his heart pounding as he faced the choice between two worlds. He hesitated, knowing that once he opened this door, there was no closing it. "About what? You look a little serious," Jason teased, nudging him lightly. "Actually, about a project I'm starting," Ethan finally said, emboldened by the spirit of his conversation with Sarah. "It's about helping families in need. We want to launch some community events, gather support for resources." Jason's smile dimmed, and the room quieted a bit around them. "Are you serious? Like actually trying to change things?" Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and fear blooming in his stomach. "Yeah. I mean, I've seen too much suffering. It's not right. And we have the ability to make a difference." "I don't know, man," Jason replied, giving Ethan a concerned look. "You realize that it's a massive undertaking, right? People don't always want to help." "But that's just it," Ethan argued, his voice tightening with a mix of passion and frustration. "They don't want to help because they don't see. If we can show them, if we can connect people, maybe they'll realize it's not just about having fun. It's about being a part of something bigger." His friend scratched his head, processing the unexpected urgency in Ethan's tone. "You're really passionate about this, huh?" "More than I thought I could be," Ethan admitted, his heart racing as he stepped deeper into an unfamiliar territory. Before Jason could respond, a loud burst of laughter cut through the air, distracting Ethan as he noticed Sarah standing at the party entrance. She was looking around, her eyes wide and searching, her baby cradled close. His heart leapt at the sight. "Hey, I'll be back," Ethan announced abruptly to Jason, pushing through the crowd before he could second-guess himself. With every step toward Sarah, he felt his resolve solidifying more. "This was it, Ethan," Sarah exclaimed, relief flooding her voice as their eyes met. "I didn't know if you'd come back. I couldn't stay away," he confessed, glancing back at the echoing laughter further inside. "I need to ask you something." A ripple of anticipation washed over them both. "Do you want to join me in presenting our idea? Let us make it official. Together." As the moment hung between them, Ethan realized something vital. This wasn't just about charity to him. It was about lifting each other up, creating a community. But would the people around him understand this mission when faced with such disparity? Would they rally for it? Suddenly, the laughter from the party turned into a roar as more partygoers spilled out, oblivious to the moment brewing between Ethan and Sarah. And just as the noise reached its peak, a tall silhouette stepped forward, a figure he recognized from his father's network. "What's this I hear about a gathering?" The man smiled, leaning against the doorframe. Ethan's heart raced. Was this the opportunity he was waiting for, or just another sign of the challenge ahead? Ethan's eyes narrowed as he focused on the man who had just stepped into the light. He recognized the familiar face, a fixture in his father's vast business empire. The man's name was Mr. Jennings, known for his philanthropic pursuits that often came cloaked in a veneer of corporate agenda. "Mr. Jennings, fancy seeing you here," Ethan called, trying to keep his voice steady, though inside, the tight knot of anxiety twisted more painfully. "I never miss a chance to check in on the future leaders," Mr. Jennings said smoothly, his smile disarming yet calculated. "I've heard whispers about community initiatives. Quite ambitious, aren't we? Especially from someone so young." Ethan felt the weight of judgment in those words. Did Jennings think he was naive? "We just want to help families who are struggling," he replied, pushing his shoulders back, his chin lifting defiantly. "It's time for change where we live." "Change?" Mr. Jennings chuckled softly, but there was a glimmer of interest in his gaze. "That's a fine sentiment. But change requires resources and commitment. Are you prepared for the backlash when things don't go as planned?" Ethan's heart raced. He could feel Sarah's eyes on him, a mixture of support and concern etched on her face. But this was his moment, and he couldn't let the doubt of others snuff out his passion. "I believe that if we connect with people and show them the challenges, they'll want to join us." Mr. Jennings stepped closer, his tone shifting to a softer, almost conspiratorial whisper. "What if I told you that I could help? That money and resources can be made available? But it comes with strings, Ethan. Always does." The offer hung in the air, tempting yet tangled. A chance to create real impact, yet at what cost? He could almost feel his entire vision and purpose wobbling. "Are you saying you want to fund this?" Sarah interjected, stepping forward protectively. "We want genuine change, not just a check to carve a statue of your name in a park." Mr. Jennings looked at Sarah, surprise flashing across his features. "Ah, so you understand the game too." "But we're not playing games," Ethan insisted, a sense of urgency rushing through him. "We want to build something meaningful, a community founded on trust and compassion." The laughter behind them had dwindled, transforming into murmurs of curiosity as more partygoers tuned into the unexpected confrontation. Ethan could feel all eyes shifting toward him, watching, waiting to see how he would respond. With every heartbeat, his resolve crystallized. If your help is genuine, then fine. But if it's just another way to get yourself a pat on the back, then no thanks. We'll find our own way. Mr. Jennings raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed by the fire in Ethan's response. "Very well. Consider this the first part of your test. Let us see if you can gather the community's support without my backing. If you can do that, well, you just might surprise me." An electric silence filled the air. Ethan felt a surge of determination and fear. This was it. The stakes were higher, but the mission was clearer than ever. "All right, then," Ethan said, locking eyes with Jennings. "You'll see us rise or fall on our own terms. As Jennings stepped back, the room buzzed again with anxious energy. And as the cheerful tunes from the party picked up once more, Ethan turned to Sarah. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, feeling the enormity of the challenge ahead. She nodded, her deep brown eyes sparkling with promise. "Together, right? Together?" he echoed, a surge of hope rushing through him. But deep down, a nagging question loomed: how long could they hold steady against the currents that would inevitably push back? Just then, a loud crash erupted from behind them. The wind howled, and the snow began to swirl wildly outside, a storm picking up that mirrored the chaos of what lay ahead. With the world outside descending into chaos, their path was clearer yet fraught with unknowns. What impact would the snowstorm have on their mission? The wind screamed outside, rattling the windows of the grand estate. Ethan felt the tremor in the air as the snow gathered in thick swirls, an uninvited guest that matched the uncertainty brewing within him. Sarah's hand gripped his tightly, grounding him amidst the turmoil. "Stay focused," she whispered, her breath visible in the cool indoor air. "We can't lose sight of our goal." But everything about the moment felt surreal. The echoes of their argument with Mr. Jennings still lingered in his mind. Was it even possible to navigate a path through the storm and build the community they envisioned? Doubt crept in like the growing snow outside, each flake a reminder of the weight of responsibility they now carried. "Let us step outside," Ethan said, glancing toward the door. "We need to feel the energy of the storm if we're going to face this." Sarah hesitated for a second, the flicker of anxiety crossing her face before determination took hold. "Okay, but let us not lose each other in this," she said. And with that, they made their way into the chaos that as they emerged into the storm, the world transformed. What had been a festive party atmosphere shifted into a swirling canvas of white. The wind howled, making it difficult to see the landscape around them. But even in the chaos, Ethan felt alive. Cold greeted him, yes, but there was something electric about it as well. "Do you see that?" Ethan called out over the raging wind, pointing at a small figure stumbling through the snow. "Someone needs help." The instinct kicked in before he could second-guess himself. Without waiting for a response, he sprinted toward the figure, heart racing with a different urgency. As they drew closer, Ethan's breath hitched. It was a woman, struggling to hold onto a bundle swaddled in her arms. "Hold on," Ethan shouted, reaching her just as she stumbled, a mixture of relief and fear flashing in her eyes. "I'm here to help." "Thank you," she panted, her cheeks flushed from the cold. "My baby, she is sick, and I just need to get home." Ethan's heart shattered at the sight. The baby, barely a few months old, was bundled helplessly against her mother's chest, tiny fingers peeking out from a thick layer of blankets. He could see the distress etched across the mother's face, each breath labored. "Let us get you inside," he urged, already feeling the storm closing in. "We can call for help." "No," the woman's voice cracked as she shook her head. "Can't go back. I lost my job. The bills are piling up. If I don't get home, I want to have a roof for us." Ethan's chest tightened at her words. The weight of their mission surged back into focus. This was exactly why they wanted to create change. Not just to gather support, but to confront the realities that families faced. He looked back toward Sarah, her eyes reflecting the same determination he felt rising within. "Together, we can figure something out," he assured the desperate mother. "We'll make it work." As they turned to navigate back through the storm, Ethan felt an unwavering resolve solidifying in his heart. They could be the lifeline for people like her. They had to be. But the snow raged on, and with every step, it became clearer that the road ahead was perilous. Ethan glanced back at Sarah, her features set in a firm line against the storm. "We can't just help them, we have to rally our community. It's time to fight." As they trudged forward, wind and snow swirling around them, the seed of a greater purpose began to take root deep within Ethan. But as the intensity of the storm escalated, so too did the weight of the uncertainty looming ahead. Could they truly make a difference? Or would the blizzard wash their hopes away? And as they reached the edge of the estate, Ethan paused, the glowing lights of the party a flickering reminder of the world they left behind. The question lingered in the air, heavy and urgent. What sacrifices would they make to ensure their vision became reality? Ethan tightened his grip on the woman's arm, the biting cold seeping through his clothes. He could feel Sarah close behind him, her presence a steady anchor amid the chaos. The world had transformed into an overwhelming storm of white, yet the urgency in their hearts drove them forward. "Let us head to the stables," Sarah shouted, pointing through the snowy haze. They might have supplies. As they moved with determination, the wind howled like a wounded animal. Each step was a battle against the elements, each gust of wind a reminder of how fragile life could be. The woman pressed her baby closer, her panic palpable. "Please, she is so cold." Her voice pierced through the wind, igniting a fire within Ethan. "We'll find a way," he promised, pushing against the storm. He could see the stables coming into view, the outlines of horses huddled together for warmth. Instinctively, his thoughts raced with possibilities. "Sarah, if we can get hay for warmth and blankets, we can make a temporary shelter until help arrives." "Right?" Sarah yelled back, her resolve unwavering. Together, they pushed through the heavy door of the stables, tumbling into a world sheltered from the storm. It smelled of hay and horse, warm and inviting despite the turmoil outside. Ethan moved with purpose, gathering blankets and straw as quickly as he could. Sarah guided the young mother to a corner, helping her settle on the ground. The baby's tiny face was flushed, but Ethan could see signs of life still flickering in her chest. "Stay strong," he whispered to the mother, trying to instill reassurance. Time blurred as they worked, the storm raging outside like a beast trapped in the night. They spread blankets and hay, creating a small haven against the chill. The mother held her baby tightly, tears shimmering in her eyes. "Thank you, I didn't think anyone would stop to help," she murmured, her voice breaking. Ethan felt something deep within him shift. This was why they were here. This was the spark they needed, the reminder of their mission. "You're not alone," Ethan said firmly, locking eyes with the woman. "We're going to get through this together." Just then, a soft whinny broke through the noise of the storm, and Ethan instinctively turned to the horses. One of the larger mares was striding toward them, sensing the atmosphere. He approached slowly, talking gently, letting the creature know he meant no harm. "Do you think she can help?" Sarah asked, her breath visible in tiny clouds. Ethan considered it. "Maybe she can carry a message or even lead us to someone who can help." His heart raced at the idea. The woman's eyes widened, hope flickering there. "But what if she gets lost in the storm? Then we'll find her," Ethan replied, the weight of responsibility pressing harder than ever. "Whatever it takes." They worked quickly, securing the horse with a makeshift blanket and tying a letter to her halter, a plea for help. As the horse moved toward the open door, Ethan held his breath. "Come on, girl," he whispered. The mare paused briefly, as if weighing the decision, and then bolted into the storm. Ethan watched as the horse faded into the blinding white, feeling a mix of hope and dread. "It's done," he said, turning back to the two women. "Now we wait." But deep down, he knew they couldn't just sit idly. They had ignited a flicker of hope, but before they could truly make a difference, they needed to act. Turning to Sarah, he said, "We need to get back out there. The community needs to know what's happening." "Are you sure?" she asked, concern etched on her face. "If we don't fight for her and others who might be struggling," he trailed off, the weight of his words hanging in the frigid air. "This isn't just about us anymore." As they prepared to face the storm once again, Ethan wondered if the very effort would change everything. Would they find the support they needed, or might they become lost in the blizzard themselves? Out in the raging winds, the stakes had never felt higher, and as they stepped back into the fray, a new question loomed. Would they be able to rally the community to stand together, or would the storm prove to be an insurmountable barrier? Ethan and Sarah stepped back into the storm, the howling winds slashing against their faces like icy daggers. Each breath came out in a puff of fog, a brief reminder of the warmth they had just left behind in the stables. The chaos outside roared, drowning out all hope. But they had no choice. They needed to reach the town, to spread the word and rally support before it was too late. "Stay close," Ethan shouted over the wind, reaching back to grasp Sarah's hand. It was a small act, yet it filled him with a sense of determination. Together, they fought against nature's fury, trudging through deep drifts that threatened to pull them under. The silhouettes of familiar homes emerged from the storm. The sight softened the edges of fear, driving Ethan forward. "We have to warn everyone," he urged. "People don't know what's happening out here." As they made their way down the street, Ethan's heart raced with urgency. Each step was a struggle, but it felt lighter knowing they were not just fighting for themselves. They were advocates now, desperate for the community to understand and act. They reached the first house, its shutters rattling under the strain of the storm. Ethan pounded on the door, urgency bubbling over. "Open up. We need help," he yelled, his voice barely reaching past the howl of the wind. After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open, revealing Mrs. Harris, the elderly widow. "What's the matter?" she gasped, her eyes wide with concern. "There's a mother and baby trapped out in the storm. We need to rally everyone to help," Ethan shouted, urgency fueling his words. Mrs. Harris's expression shifted from concern to alarm. "Oh dear, let me get my coat." She disappeared inside, leaving Ethan feeling a mix of hope and fear. Would they gather enough help in time? They moved fast, from door to door, the urgency building with each knock. People peeked out, hesitant at first, but when they heard the news, hesitation turned to resolve. The bravery in each home stirred something deep within Ethan, a reminder of the strength that lay within their small town. He had seen it before as the townsfolk bundled up. Ethan felt warmth spreading through him, fueled by the flame of collective purpose. "We're going to get her and the baby out of the storm," he said, his confidence rising with each shared resolve around him. Just then, Sarah pulled at his sleeve, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Look," she exclaimed, pointing toward the edge of town where the snow seemed to swirl dangerously. The figure was moving closer, battling through the storm. Ethan squinted, desperately trying to make out the form. "The horse. But how?" Ethan murmured, his heart leaping. Had the mare found someone? He rushed toward the shape, Sarah at his heels, both driven by instinct as the figure came nearer. They could see it was Laura, a local veterinarian, the mare trotting beside her. Relief flooded through Ethan. She had been out helping animals during the storm. What a stroke of luck. But then his heart sank. "Laura," he called desperately. "It's a baby. We need to get to the stables to help them." Laura nodded, her face set with determination. "Let us go. I can help, but we have to get there fast." They made their way back through the storm with purpose. Each step was like a vow and oath to protect a life that mattered. The community was steadily gathering behind them, a small but powerful unit against the raging winter. Ethan's mind raced as they pushed forward. Did they have enough time? Was it too late? Each question pressed harder against his chest, a constant reminder of everything at stake. As they approached the stables once more, the sound of the storm roared even louder. He could feel the cold working its way into his bones. Would they really be able to help? They were just steps away from the door when a piercing shriek sliced through the howling wind, a cry of fear, echoing with desperation. It sent chills racing down Ethan's spine as they rushed through the threshold. And there, he wrestled with the stark truth. Would they truly reach the others in time, or was he about to discover just how deep the storm's impact truly went? Ethan burst into the stables, heart pounding. The familiar scent of hay mixed with something unfamiliar fear. The wind howled outside, swirling snow around them like a tempest of chaos. He squinted, straining to see through the dim light. "Is anyone here?" he shouted, voice cracking under the weight of anxiety. The sound of a soft, groaning whimper answered him. "Over here." A woman's voice emerged, choked with emotion. Ethan rushed through the stable, the weak light revealing Jessica, a local with whom he'd shared a few friendly hellos at the market. She was cradling a bundled form tightly against her chest. Tears streamed down her cheeks, illuminated by the flicker of an oil lamp. "My baby, she's not doing well," Jessica stammered, panic flooding her voice. "Please help us." Ethan's heart dropped as he moved closer. The baby's tiny face was pale, the stark white of her blanket contrasting against Jessica's fright. "What happened?" Ethan asked, kneeling beside her. She was cold, too cold. Jessica's shaky hands clutched the infant tightly, as if holding on could bring back warmth. He could see it in her eyes, the deep, hollow fear of losing someone she loved. "Laura," Sarah called. "We need your help." Laura was suddenly at their side, assessing the situation in seconds. "Let me take a look." She gently separated Jessica from her baby, with careful hands. Each movement felt like an eternity as anticipation gripped Ethan's chest. "It's okay, Jess," Ethan murmured, trying to offer comfort while he was terrified himself. As he watched Laura adjust the blanket and check for signs of life. "She's in good hands. You did everything you could. But what if it's not enough?" Jessica's voice trembled. Laura's brow furrowed. Yet she remained calm. "I need to warm her. Jessica, can you lay her on your chest? A skin-to-skin touch will help." With unsteady hands, Jessica shifted, holding her baby close again. As the small ember of hope flickered within him, Ethan looked around. The bustling storm had turned into a backdrop for chaos and sorrow, and fear tightened its grip on the barn. Outside, he could hear the townsfolk gathering. The chatter surged like the wind. They were all here for them. "Community. Let us move inside," Ethan said as he guided Jessica to her feet. "We can find something warm." Blankets. As they carefully walked to a corner of the stable, the gusts of wind rattled the doors. Ethan turned to see Sarah standing by the entrance, her face pale but resolute. "The others are coming. They're worried about you too." "Good," Ethan said, his voice gaining strength. "We need every helping hand we can get." With Laura guiding Jessica toward the warmth of the hay-lined stall, Ethan turned back to the entrance. The storm roared, but the sight of their community braving the cold filled him with courage. He stepped into the swirling snow, arms out to the townsfolk who were now forming a line like beacons in the blizzard's might. The first person he recognized was Mr. Grayson, the town's older mechanic. "What can we do?" he shouted over the gusts. "We need blankets, anything warm," Ethan called back. "And fast. A baby's in trouble." The townsfolk began calling to one another, voices breaking through the storm like rays of light. Everyone moved with purpose, a rush of determined faces flooding past. It hit Ethan then, a realization. They weren't fighting this storm alone. Behind him, in the stables, Laura's voice rose above the chaos. "She's stable. We need to warm her up." Ethan felt hope swelling inside him. He turned back, ready to lend a hand. He would do whatever it took to keep Jessica and her baby alive. But a nagging fear crept in. Could they really keep the darkness at bay? As he looked back at the storm, the icy tendrils reached into their space, threatening to extinguish the warmth growing amongst them. The real battle was just beginning. Would they push through the storm together, or would they lose more than they ever thought possible? The storm raged, a ferocious beast determined to test their resolve. Ethan stood at the edge of the stables, feeling the pulse of the storm within his chest. Snowflakes swirled around him, lost souls in the gale, but there in the chaos, he saw possibility. Every moment held weight, each decision a chance to ignite the spark of change. Inside, Jessica clutched her baby, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "I'm so scared," she whispered, voice trembling like the fragile creature in her arms. Ethan's heart thudded. This was real. No fairy tale, just raw, desperate humanity. "Jessica, you're strong," he urged, his tone steady. "You're doing everything you can. We're all here for you." He could sense her fear, thick in the air. But he also felt something else, the unyielding strength of a community gathering to rise against the storm. Outside, voices cried out, rallying like soldiers. "Get blankets," someone shouted. "I've got supplies." The townsfolk surged forward, their expressions fierce and resolute. Ethan felt adrenaline rush through him. This was it. Together, they would create warmth out of chaos. He stepped back into the stable, where Laura continued to work diligently, carefully wrapping layers around Jessica's infant. "Keep her skin to skin," she instructed gently. "Each moment counts." Jessica nodded, her determination hardening like steel forged in fire. Blankets were piled high around the baby. Ethan turned to see Sarah moving swiftly through the crowd, gathering resources, her eyes fierce with purpose. She caught his gaze, and in that moment, a wave of gratitude swept over him. She was a beacon illuminating the path forward. Ethan, Sarah called, tangible energy lighting her voice. We need more people at the hospital. People were still crowded outside, eyes darting about, waiting for direction. Her intention was clear. This wasn't just about one life. It was about a community coming together for many. I'll go, Ethan shouted, determination roaring through him. The more we have, the better. He moved towards the group, heart racing as he pushed through the crowd, rallying friends and neighbors. We need to protect everyone caught in this storm. We can't just think of ourselves. Behind him, he could hear the sounds of people mobilizing. We'll get everyone we can. Ethan, just hold on. The urgency in Sarah's voice sent surges of energy through him. He was on a mission now, carrying the weight of their shared fire. Outside the stables, the wind screamed a frantic noise that almost drowned out the voices of hope rising amidst it. But now, camaraderie surged, a force capable of weathering any storm. Ethan stepped into the thick of it, rallied together under the banner of compassion. Anyone who is free. We need to get to the hospital. Babies are struggling. Families need shelter. The energy electrified the air. A pulse of unity that grew stronger with each word as they formed a plan within the swirl of snow. Ethan's heart pounded. This was more than an act of kindness. It was a moment of truth. A chance to prove that community could transcend division, that hearts could connect in the cold. Ethan, over here. It was Laura, waving him back inside the stables. We've stabilized the baby, but we need to transport her safely to the clinic. He rushed back, excitement lifting his spirit as he saw Jessica breathing more steadily, her baby nestled and swaddled. You did it, he exclaimed, the warmth in his voice blending with the flickering light in the barn. Yes, Jessica breathed, tears trailing down her cheeks. But then fear clouded her gaze as she focused back on her baby. But we can't stay here. What about the others? She was right, a flicker of dread began to creep in, the shadows of doubt threatening to snuff out the light they had just ignited. There's a transport vehicle coming, Ethan assured her, aware of his own uncertainty but trying to instill courage. We have a plan now. It's time to leave this place and take our families home. As the community gathered outside, fear transformed into action. They pulled together blankets, coats, anything to shield against the blizzard. For every head that turned in uncertainty, hands reached out to encourage. They fed off each other's energy, a surge that pushed fear to the sidelines. Minutes passed like hours, but in that time, Ethan felt their growing determination, a tide rolling across the landscape, sweeping up the frightened and shining a spotlight on the hope that hadn't yet faded. When they finally established their cargo, Ethan climbed into the back of the carriage, determined to be there for Jessica, her baby, and anyone else in need. We're together now, he said, swallowing back emotion. No one fights alone. Their makeshift group took to the streets once more, their path lit by the soft glow of determination flickering against the darkness. As they set off into the storm, Ethan felt like he was riding a wave of courage. Together, they would create an impact bigger than their individual lives as they drove through the relentless storm. Sarah's hand found Ethan's, tightly clasping as if grounding them both. Look at this. Look at how far we've come, how willing everyone is, she said, her eyes shining with excitement. Ethan breathed in, feeling the weight of their journey settle in his heart. Families were together, people were helping, hope spread like wildfire amid the snow. This is just the beginning, he whispered back, heart swelling with anticipation, aware that the fight was long. But they were far from finished, with the blizzard raging on. The warmth of community began to burn away the frost. The howling winds may have clouded their path, but united, they were stronger than any storm. And as the carriage rolled along, Ethan felt confident that their journey had only just begun, a shared commitment to change the world. One heart at a time to the light of dawn. As the storm settled and the day broke gently, they would stand together, ready to face whatever future awaited them. Together, they were ready to ignite the change they all believed in with all their hearts. And as they rode forward, a thought ignited like a flame. They weren't just fighting against the storm. They were creating a shelter, a place of warmth, where kindness could shelter the lost, turning what was once a winter of despair into spring blooms of hope. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to stay tuned with incredible transformations like this. Leave a like right now. Trust me, it feeds the algorithm and helps us reach more amazing stories. And don't hold back. Comment with your reaction and feelings about this ending. Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.